There's a wonderful quote from Maya Angelou where she talks about the fact that none of the other virtues are worth anything unless you have courage. Because all of the other virtues, and I would say all of the other values, require you to have courage. They require you to step outside of what is comfortable. They require you to step outside of the known. Because the only way you're going to figure out what your purpose is to step into the unknown, is to get uncomfortable. As you all know, the comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. Purpose. I've seen some of you talk about, I don't know what my purpose is, or I'm looking for my purpose. And that's exactly where I was. That's exactly how I felt. You'll hear us coaches say that I don't know is a lazy answer. But I'm going to give you a whole pass. And when it comes to your purpose, I'm going to say, this is the one time that it's okay for you to say, I don't know. But there's a huge difference in the energy, because everything's about energy, right? There's a huge difference in the energy of I don't know in resignation and the energy of I don't know, but I'm curious. I'm open to possibilities. And that's where I want to invite you to be. You don't need to know. You don't need to know today what is my purpose. And don't look for the heavens to open and the angels to sing. That might not happen for you. But what I want to invite you is to stay curious, to stay open to possibility. And I want to share with you today 5 reflections, 5 ideas that I have about finding purpose, especially from the perspective, as I said, of having no clue what my purpose was. So the first thing that I want to say is considering that your purpose in this season of your life might be the invitation to live your values. You've identified what you said are your values, your top values. And so what I want to invite you is to embody those. What do those values look like? Not just as words you wrote on a piece of paper or on a sticky note, but what does it actually look like for you to live those values? What are the observable behaviors? What are the habits that would show me if I was filming a reality show about your life? How would I know by watching you what your values are? Because that's the first step to you becoming the very best version of you, is actually living your values. And the other thing too about living your values is all too often we're sitting on the couch and like cracking our heads like, oh my gosh, like what is my purpose? And what is my purpose? And oh, please, heavens open, angels sing. What is my purpose? But finding your purpose isn't going to come to you sitting on the couch. What I know for sure is that finding your purpose is about feeling. We live in a world that's told us to discount our feelings, that it's all about cerebral, left brain, analytical stuff. Does it make sense? Did you go to school to study this? And yet, when you think about it, our human experience, the experience of life that we want, is about feeling. How do I want to feel? First question for you to ask yourself is, how do I want to feel? In finding your purpose, what is the experience of life that I want to have? How do I want to feel? And learning to listen to the little whispers, your intuition, that thing that we all too often discard, that we dismiss, that little voice inside of us that says, this feels good. Use your feelings as your true north, as your compass to what is it that I want for myself? What is the experience of life that I want to have? So the first thing is live your values and allow yourself to feel. Trust your feelings. The second thing that I think really contributes to you finding your purpose is courage. There's a wonderful quote from Maya Angelou where she says, and I'm butchering it because I don't have it close handy, but she talks about the fact that none of the other virtues are worth anything unless you have courage. Because all of the other virtues, and I would say all of the other values, require you to have courage. They require you to step outside of what is comfortable. They require you to step outside of the known. Because the only way you're going to figure out what your purpose is to step into the unknown, is to get uncomfortable. As you all know, the comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. The only way that you can get out of your comfort zone is to get out of your comfort zone. And that requires courage. It requires you stepping into that version of you that says, not necessarily I'm fearless. I'm not inviting you to be fearless, but I'm inviting you to fear less, for you to step into courage more often, for you to really be courageous also in terms of looking inward and listening to yourself, listening to your intuition, sometimes even when you don't want to. So the second thing for me is all about courage, stepping into courage. The third thing that I think is so important when it comes to finding your purpose is not focusing on the how. Because all too often we think of a dream or we have an idea and it's like, well, how? And that immediately stops us because, well, we don't know all of the steps from A to Z. So what I want to invite you to do is, instead of focusing on the how, focus on the why. Why is this important to you? Why does this feel good? Why do you feel called to do this? And then I want you to think about WIN. What's important now? What's the one step? What's one little thing that you can do today that moves you one step closer? Because here's what I know for sure. Again, going back to you will never find your purpose sitting on the couch and thinking about it, is that every action that you take gives you feedback. It's all feedback. And when we take away the need for it to be a right decision or a wrong decision, and we see it as just feedback, it's either moving me towards how I want to feel or it's moving me away from how I want to feel. And seeing that then as an opportunity to change direction, to change course, to change whatever it is that you do. And the thing as well about focusing on the why is that that's where your inspiration comes from. Because all too often we're waiting for motivation. I want to feel motivated. I want to feel inspired. But that's a myth. Motivation is a myth. What will pull you towards whatever your purpose is having a strong why. Why do I want to know what my purpose is? Instead of focusing on the how. And something else that I want to invite you to think about is, for so many of us, the reason we don't allow ourselves to think of, well, what is it that I want, is because of sunk costs, as they're called in business. We think about the fact that, I've spent all these years and all of this money on a university degree, and then now I've got all of these years in this firm that I work for, and I have all this, I have a corner office, and giving all of that up. But what I want to invite you to think about is, what is it costing you? What is the cost that you are willing to pay to not live the life of your dreams? To not live your purpose, to not live the reason that you are here on this planet. The next point that I want you to consider, that I invite you to consider, is something that is called Ubuntu in my mother tongue. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm proudly African. And my adopted home is Canada, but I am proudly African. And it's something that is such a strong part of our culture. It is something that is ingrained in us as literally from being little children. In my language, there actually isn't a word for a cousin, because as far as our culture teaches us, we're all connected. We are all brothers and sisters. And a wonderful thing, something that my father taught me as well as I was growing up. My father passed away about 3 years ago. But something that, if you were to ask me, what's the one foundational lesson that your father left you with? My father would always say to me, Sandra, your success will never have any true meaning unless you bring others with you. And that's what Ubuntu really is all about. It's a philosophy that says, I am because you are. You are because I am. It speaks to our shared humanity. And the reason I share that with you is that part of our purpose is to be of service. Part of the reason that we are here is to be of service. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be on a global stage saving the world or solving world hunger. It's about in your immediate circle, in your family, are you someone who is helping uplift others? In your workplace, in your friend circle, are you someone who is uplifting others? Because I can guarantee you that your success will be so much sweeter when it is not just about you, when it is about us, when it is about helping in some way other people. And so Ubuntu, that philosophy of I am because you are because I am. And something else that I want you to consider is that purpose is an evolution. What my purpose was when I was 18 years old, and then what my purpose was when I was 20, and then when I was 30, and then when I was 40, is very different than it is now. And so allowing for that evolution, that thinking about life as a journey, as a constant and never-ending journey of evolution and growth. And one of the quotes that I love, if you'll get to know that I love quotes, but another quote that I love from Dr. Maya Angelou is where she said, when I knew better, I did better. But I've always somewhat resisted that quote, even though I love it, because better implies a judgment of something that was good and then something that was better, or something that was bad and then something that was better. And what I like to think of that quote as is, when I knew different, I did different. And that's what I want to invite you to. See the world differently. Allow yourself to be open to possibilities, open to new ways of seeing things, open to new ways of interpretation. And so I want to invite you to think of your purpose as an evolution. You don't need to know the answer today if you don't know what your purpose is. That's quite all right. But I want to invite you to be curious, because from that place of curiosity, you open yourself up to possibility. Because here's what I know for sure. You are worthy. You are worthy to be, you're worthy to do, and you're worthy to have anything and everything your heart desires. I am so grateful to be a part of your journey.